Thank you very much for having me today again. This is a very, very interesting case of negligence on the part of the West, because the Western countries are always making a point that we stand for democracy, we stand for justice and freedom. But here, Rohingya Muslims don't seem to have enough oil, enough gold, or enough resources for the West to get involved in order to plunder these resources. I don't blame the West for doing what the West is doing here. This silence is criminal. I believe this silence is actually facilitating the murder and the massacre of hundreds of thousands of people. And we shouldn't even look at the West to rescue these Muslims. Rather, the Muslim countries themselves need to rise. They need to wake up and realize that for the past 20 years, we've had more Muslims die in the world than in the past century put together. So why is this happening? And why are the Muslims being targeted everywhere in the world? We had Bosnia, we had Chechnya, we had Iraq disaster, we had other events we are taking place. Now, recently when the Western governments got involved in Libya, it was purely due to the oil richness of Libya. Here, these poor people don't have the wealth and the resources for the Westerners to take them seriously. And on top of that, we see them giving Nobel Peace Prize to someone like Aung San Suu Kyi, who has been very silent on these massacres. She hasn't come out, condemned them in any way. Rather, her silence is also criminal. Her silence is actually endorsing what's happening here. She is seen as a figure to defend justice and democracy and freedom, and West hails her as a heroine. But here in this case, she has failed to defend these people satisfactorily. She needs to come out and defend these people. In fact, if it means for us to go there to become a human shield, she should do that by all means. You see, the Muslim organizations who are trying to help people here on the ground, they're not being allowed by the government. The government has a very, very specific policy in this regard. They want to annihilate these people. It is very, very clear from the government's language. The government of Burma has made it very clear that these people are not welcome in our lands. These people need to get out. They have to go. On top of that, the role Bangladeshi government is playing is not very responsible either. The Bangladeshi Prime Minister, she came out recently and she said that Rohingya Muslims are not our problem. But this is not the right attitude towards humans. You see, I believe humans, wherever they may be suffering or wherever anyone is wronged or oppressed, we as Muslims primarily should help them. Okay, if not as humans, as Muslims, it is a responsibility upon us to help all oppressed people on the face of the earth. But here, as Muslims, she should have realized that she has a responsibility, a duty to help her brothers and sisters who are being pursued by an army and police and a coalition of media and clergy in a country which is bent upon massacring these people. So the West has a policy. West is making a point here that no matter what happens to these people, we're not going to get involved because they don't have enough resources and enough wealth for us to get involved. So I think we need to realize that the Western countries only pursue justice and democracy where it suits them, and when it suits them to kill hundreds of thousands of people to gain or attain the ends, they will do that by all means. So well, I don't see why we should be even looking at them. I think it's a very, very dire situation, and I think Muslim countries altogether should put pressure on Burma to accept some of these humanitarian aid organizations into the country so that the situation can be handled. Bangladeshi government has simply refused to accept these refugees, unfortunately, which is a very, very unfortunate turn of events. Now, these poor humans are left without any support. They are kind of stranded in between two countries, okay? And they simply they can't live in Burma because they're not welcome there, and there is a systemic attempt to wipe them out. And on the other hand, when they turn up at the borders in Bangladesh, the government of Bangladesh turns them away. So the world now has to wake up. It is, I think, collectively speaking, it is a Muslim problem, okay? The Muslims need to rise now. The Arab governments and the Muslims need to unite. the issue here is unity. I agree with one of your speakers that this is a global issue now. It's a global problem. The reason why the West is continuously manipulating Muslims for its benefits is because we allow them to manipulate us. If we come together as a collective body, as one body to defend our interests, our economic interests, our military interests, our geopolitical interests, we will be able to make a difference collectively. Individually, here and there, trying to form alliances with people who are taking advantage of us, our weakness, we will continue to suffer in the future as well. So I hope that the government of Burma become sensible and allow some of these humanitarian aid organizations to enter the country and not turn this small issue into a big conflict. Although locally it's a big issue, but globally it's a small issue. We have bigger catastrophes taking place in other lands which are silent catastrophes. Okay, but here we have an example of a Holocaust taking place and the world is silent.
Okay, we're going to have to end it there.